Hello, I hope you all are off to a good start with your remote learning day one. I'm coming at you with another recipe, and today's recipe is a mug cake, which is a single serving cake that is made in the microwave. So I'm going to go over some things with you today. I did make a video on microwave safety, so make sure you check that out before using your microwave. So to start, we are going to read our recipe. This recipe I just found online. It's from the Pioneer Woman, so if you have not checked her out on the Food Network, she makes some wonderful things. So when you have some free time, go ahead and check out her show. So I know that this is going to be pretty good. So our ingredients today are 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar. Obviously with those things, if you are gluten-free, you can substitute gluten-free flour. For sugar, you can substitute other things like honey, syrup, or if you have other sweeteners that you like to use. 2 tablespoons cocoa powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of salt, 3 tablespoons of milk. Also, you can substitute like almond milk or coconut milk, whatever you need to, if you have to make that substitution. 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I'm actually going to be using applesauce today. Applesauce is a good healthy replacement for fat in recipes. A splash of vanilla, 3 tablespoons of chocolate chips. So obviously this is a chocolate mug cake. You can add those or any other mix-ins that you want that you have available. So your directions are that you need, your special equipment is you need a 12-ounce microwave-safe ceramic mug and a microwave. You're going to put the flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking powder, and salt together, blend with a fork, add the milk, vegetable oil, and vanilla, and blend until smooth, and then you're going to stir in the chocolate chips. You can do that right in your mug. I'm going to use a bowl just so you can see what I'm doing as we go through the recipe, and then you're going to microwave on high for 90 seconds, so 1.5 minutes. Depending on microwaves, because each microwave varies a little bit, you may want to start out low and microwave for 1 minute, check on it, and then give it another 30 seconds. You want to make sure, though, these are really touchy, so if you overcook them, they will become dry pretty quickly. And then also important to note is they are going to be hot when they come out of the microwave, so make sure that you let it cool off for a couple minutes before you eat it. Otherwise, you will burn your mouth. Okay, so let's get started. So I am going to use this mug. This is the biggest mug we have in the house. So it says that you need a 12-ounce microwave safe mug. So if you want to check it, if you're not sure you have 12 ounces, easiest thing to do is just get a liquid measuring cup, and this is just a 1 cup measuring cup, so 8 ounces is a cup. So before the video started, I just filled this up to 8 ounces, poured it in, and then added 4 more ounces just to double check that this was big enough. So that's an easy way to tell how big your mug actually is. So like I said, I'm going to be mixing everything in a glass bowl just so you can see that as we go. So we're going to start with our flour, and we need 3 tablespoons of flour. So you'll have your leveler out, you'll have your tablespoon out, and you're just going to add in 3 tablespoons. Let me see if I can do this. Well, that way you can see. Again, remember, we never are going to pack down flour. So we have 3 tablespoons of flour. Then we're going to add our sugar. So we'll do the same thing. We'll get out our measuring spoon, over scoop, 1, 2, 3, and like I said while I was reading the recipe, if you want to substitute a different sweetener, you most certainly can do that. All right, so now we have our flour and sugar. To that, we're going to add the cocoa powder. So we need 2 tablespoons. Oh, let me go see if I have one that's open. All right, so we need 2 tablespoons of this cocoa powder. 1. 2. And our baking powder, we need 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. If you watched my other videos when we did pancakes, remember that you have your leveler in the baking powder, so 1/4 teaspoon. So I have my 1/4 teaspoon. Just measure it right there. And then salt. So this just says a pinch of salt. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of salt in my hand, which is probably a pinch, and just put that in. So just a tiny bit. It says optional, so you don't need to put it in there if you don't want to. And then we're just going to take a fork and stir this. So we have our fork, and we're just gonna mush it all together here, kind of like a whisk. I guess you could use a whisk if you wanted to. All right, so that's all mixed, and then we are ready to add our milk, vegetable oil, and vanilla. So we are adding 3 tablespoons of milk. I'm not going to pour directly over my mixing bowl just in case I over pour too much, so you can pour over another bowl or your sink. So we need 3 tablespoons. Of milk. And then the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons vegetable oil. I said that I was going to use applesauce, so I just have some applesauce in a bowl. It is just unsweetened applesauce. If you're buying applesauce, that's a good kind to use. Applesauce is sweet enough. You don't need the added sugar in there. So we're going to take 3 tablespoons. Put that in there. And then the vanilla. So you take your vanilla, shake it a little bit, and then just a little splash. And then you're just going to, now we have all our liquid ingredients, we're just going to mix this all together now. You want to make sure that you incorporate everything in there. Any lumps or bumps that are in there, try to break those up with your fork. Make sure you're incorporating all of the dry ingredients. You want everything wet. And then once you have everything mixed up, you are going to add your final thing, which is your 3 tablespoons of chocolate chips. So let me rinse off my measuring spoon. Get that dried. And then I'm just going to add in 1, 2, 3. If you don't have chocolate chips at home, it's not necessary to add them. If you have other things that you want to add, you can. Just give those a little bit of a stir. Now, like I said, you can mix this all in your mug. It will give you one less thing to clean, but since I did not, I need to transfer it into the mug here. It doesn't say to spray it, but if you want to, you can take some vegetable spray and just give it a quick spray. I think I'm going to do that. Take your vegetable spray a little bit, and then remember, always spray it over the sink. So just real quick, just real light. You don't need a lot. I just sprayed on the inside there. I'm just going to carefully transfer my batter into my mug. This is a good time to talk about how important it is not to eat raw batters. It used to be that we were concerned about salmonella in eggs. So you may be sitting here, well, why can't I eat this? There's no eggs in there. There aren't any eggs in there, but we did use flour, and now flour is something that we need to be concerned about because there's been some flour that has been contaminated with E. coli and has gotten people sick. So it's important not to eat raw cookie dough or cake batter, cupcakes, mug cakes. You just want to get it cooked. That way it's safe and then you won't get sick. So I have my mug all ready. I am going to go ahead and put this into my microwave. If you didn't watch my microwave video that I posted, just remember that metal is not safe to use in the microwave. It can spark and cause a fire. So make sure your mug is microwave safe, obviously, before you put it in there. This recipe says to microwave on high for 90 seconds. Do not overcook because it will dry out really fast. I'm going to start out for a minute because microwaves vary a little bit, so you might want to start out for a minute, check on it. I'll show you what it looks like after a minute, and we'll go from there. Okay, so the timer went off for a minute. Notice I do have a pot holder to hold because the mug is hot. You can see it steaming a little bit if you look closely. So right now this is what it looks like after a minute. It's still moist and a little wet and shiny on top, so it definitely still needs more time. So I am going to put it in for the additional 30 seconds. Alright, so I cooked the microwave mug cake for a minute and 30 seconds and it looks pretty good and ready to go. Like the recipe says, you don't want to overcook it because it will dry out really fast. So just make sure that you're paying close attention to it. So I'm going to let this cool off for a couple minutes, and then after that you can grab a fork and dig in. You can put like powdered sugar or something on the top if you want, but it's going to be fine just by itself. So enjoy. So this is a learning experience for all of us. As I was eating my mug cake, it was really good, by the way. I noticed some parts at the bottom hadn't been cooked all the way through, so I just threw mine back in the microwave for 30 seconds and it should be good to go. So if you run into that problem, you can just do the same, no problem.